Need to remember to do that. I don't know why it keeps turning off. Furthermore, where is my microphone? Oh, weird. Weird. Why is it all the way back here? Interesting. Howdy. Microphone. Alright. Boom, shakalaka laka boom. My whole vibe in my office is flubbed up. So let's see. Wow. All this stuff again. Let's first check to see what's going down in the YouTube land. To see if everything is working proper. Alright. We dug a medium-sized hole. Sure. Interesting. Let's see here. Is everything going alright? Alright, let's see. Sure. Interesting. Now is everything going alright? Alright, let's see. Now I should be able to hear myself a lot better. That's weird. Now is everything going alright? Let's see. Now what's happening? Now I should be able to hear myself a lot better. That's weird. Now is my output. Dude, I have no clue, man. No, what's happening? I should be able to hear myself a lot better. That's weird. Now is my monitoring device. Dude, I have no clue, man. What is happening, dude? Yeah, I don't hear myself at all. Monitoring device. Dude, I have no clue, man. What is happening, dude? Audio mixer. My mic audio should be all the way up. Hello. Yeah, I don't hear myself at all. Now, is it my video mic? No. Audio mixer. Oh, my mic audio should be all the way up. Hello. Oh, okay, so it's fine. Yeah, I don't hear myself. Everything is good. It was just my actual settings. Okay. Alright, my finger itches like crazy, dude. This is how my hands are looking right now. Need to use some lotion. That is awful. Alright, so I mean, basically I want to ground all of my stuff that I think I understand and ground everything that I think I know in first principles. So let's start with math. So what is math? Oh, I cannot write on this. Now, question. Let's get rid of all of that junk. Let's see, maybe I do need a different way of doing it. Text box. Math. Let's say that. What is math? Math is representation. So let's say we have so many items. All of these little circles represent a different item, and we have a set of items. So now, what's our first natural representation? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. So we would normally, the first thing that we have is say that we trace our hand. We have woo, 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 woo. We have our hands, and then we can just hold up thumb. All the rest of our hands are closed, and then that's for 1, and then we draw another, and then that's 2, and then we have another, and then that stands for 3, and then we get another, and that stands for 4, like we have here, and then we get our last one, and then that stands for 5. Oh, what am I doing? Good stuff. And then we get our other hand here, and we have 6, and that stands for 6. So now what are we doing here? We're representing our numbers using our hand. So like these objects, we are representing the count of these objects with our fingers. This is representation. So let's go ahead and add a little text box here. Representation. That is is the point of math. What is math? Representation of things in the reality. So these are our objects. Anything. This can represent anything. And we can take the count and use that. Now, these symbols will not come naturally at first. So what is natural? Say we get our objects back. Let's have our 6 objects, and we're used to counting on our fingers. And then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we start transferring them onto paper, and we start writing them that way. And maybe we notice that when we have our fingers, I don't know what kind of hand that is, but like let's notice like when we have our full hand, let's say we're like, ooh, maybe instead of writing them out like this and we have another hand, let's just do this. And then this will equal this is the same as one hand, and then we have another one here to represent this one, and then we start and then we end up with 2 hands. And each time we have a hand, we have a cross. That way we have a reference point for what's going on. Let's see what this looks like from this perspective. Or, well, rather, okay. Let's see what it looks like from this perspective. Now, is it my video should be all the way up. Everything is good. It was just my actual setting naturally at first. So what is natural? Say we get our objects back. Let's have our 6 objects, and we're used to counting hand. We have a cross. That way we have a reference point for what's going on. Let's see what this looks like from this perspective. All right. Well, rather. So maybe I want to move what it looks like from this perspective. In my actual, bring up my perspective again. Maybe I want, oh my God, don't do that. Maybe I want, oh my God, don't do that. I want this. Let's say that, and then let's make myself smaller. So what is natural? Say we get our objects back. Let's have our 6. All right, quit this. That is weird and meta. All right, so we got our objects, and then now we have a cross, and then like, okay, now we're used to it. So this is cool. This is neat. So that's fine. So let's keep moving. So now let's see, we have our objects, and we start getting used to writing down all of the things that we need. So let's see. We have our paper, and we're keeping up tallies, just counting all of our things until we have represented them all. 5, and then we got 4 more here. And then maybe we start writing out multiple things. Let's say we have copious amounts of these. Am I able to do something cool here or no? No, no sticky note. I do not want that sticky note. Let's see here. No? What is this? Oh, these are lasers. Oh, that's neat. Okay. So let's see here. Is this just a selecting tool? What am I supposed to do here? I would like to be able to select all of this stuff and move it around, or like duplicate it. Let's see. All right. Don't add an image. Get out of here. Let's say, oh my god, go back. What am I doing? This is too much. What is that? I really thought I knew what I was up to. Back up. I kind of broke my narrative. But anyways, where we're at here. So we get to a point where we just have, let's say, instead of this, let's make it like a big old marker. And now we end up so many of these items that it becomes really annoying to represent them all. Say we have so many, we end up with having like hundreds of things to represent. So then we notice that this form, we are taking up a whole lot of paper just to do this. And then how do we even like take away? Like say we start losing some of these pieces, and then we need to like start erasing them or doing what have you. So now we're like, now we have an issue. So like we can just represent these. Say we have our hand. Let's get our hand back here. That is not a hand, but that's what it is. And then we got view, yeah. And then we're like, oh, well that's neat. Let's just translate that into this. So equals. Let's create a new symbol that means equals. So this, any two lines here of the same length, this means this equals this. So we have v equals that. And now, instead of these, we stop thinking of the tally marks and we can develop a system of numerals. So if we know that v equals 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, which we typically used to represent with the slash, now this is much more efficient, because now if we wanted to represent, say, that many, like so many more, now this is so plus these just equals v 1, 2, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Neat. Now let's say we keep on going, and then this would equal, well, this is no longer equal here, so blah, blah, blah. We're going to keep moving forward. And now we got this equals v. And then maybe we get to a point where we're keeping up with a lot of v's and then some extra ones. And now we're like, hey, we grouped together some 1s. Well, let's start grouping together these. And we have a V here, and then we have a V here. Well, what does that kind of look like? What can we do? We get V here, V here. And then we get tired of writing it that way because we're just saving space, and then we just like, ah, yes, X. Neat. So now this becomes X, 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 I. Now, if I was writing with a pencil instead of a little marker here, or my mouse, this would be a lot more legible. And then we end up knowing that this is like 3 sets of both hands, and then plus 2. So that's 32. That's neat. That's neat. That is really neat. Now, what can we do with this? We can keep expanding. Say we get to a point where we have so many X's that we are putting together. Oh my Lord. Now we got, hey, how about we have a hand's worth of 10s, and we make that equal something else. What do we say that equals? Let's look up Roman numerals. I don't even know what the Roman numerals were. Let's see. Ancient counting system. Neat. Look at this. Alright, and then we had 10. And then let's see what 50 was. I know 50 had its own special L. That's what I thought. I thought it was going to be L. And then we just call this dude L. And then we get so many L's together. Wow. What are we going to do? Well, we were looping V's together, and then it makes just sense to loop 5 times or 10 times X to equal something. So that 10 times X equals 2 L's, since L equals 5 times X. And that's just a rule of math that we can figure out and expand upon in just a second. Now, what do we got? We got X to 100. Oh wait, what does C equal? What does C equal? Neat. What are we doing? Oh, C equals 100. Duh. And then now, so 2 L's equal a C. And then this becomes C plus L. So that's 250. Neat. And then we can keep on going like this, so on and so forth, and then the taking away becomes a lot easier and it's manageable. But is it really scalable? Because now we're writing down so many things on paper, and we're taking, say we want to keep a log of what's going on. So like we have so many X's, plus another, we found out a symbol to add more together. Is it really feasible to have like all of these different symbols here? Because these can get pretty unwieldy. Equals, then well, that's just gonna be C L X X X X. That's just, it gets really unwieldy, like really fast, because like we have to wait until we get an extra X here to make this another L, and then it would become 2 C's, which is great. But like if we're keeping a ledger here to show each transaction, we're having to write out these chains each time. So what's another way of representing these? Well, perhaps we could, now this is very, do we have a way to represent nothing yet? Say we had nothing at one point in time, and then we added some. So wait a minute. How do we represent nothing? Well, I mean a blank page. And then when you get something, you just start adding on to it. Sure. However, if we have a numeral to represent nothing, perhaps we can start adding things together. So let's create, whoa, back up. Let's create a 0. That's neat. So 0 plus X equals X. So what's the point in this? Well, 0 now becomes a placeholder. Neat. So let's say, what do we want to base our new system off of? we could say that we have 0 ones, we have 0 x's or whatever. So like if we're multiplying together, can we even multiply with the previous, with these numerals? So let's say we have x, so we have 2 tens times 10. Well, how do we really do that? We just have to take this and write it 10 times. Well, that's kind of cool. However, it does get lengthy, so is there a way that we can condense this form? Well, let's take 10, since it works with our fingers. So maybe we're going to base our new number system off of tens. So what do? We base 10 for counting. Base 10. So how do we use this? Let's say we have 0 ones. And then now, instead of having a number system for each, like 5 equals v, maybe we need a new system. So where 1 equals 1, but maybe 1 equals something else. Since we have a symbol for 1, maybe we need a symbol for 2. So what do? 2. Alright, that sounds good to me. So we need a symbol for 3 equals 3. That's neat. And then maybe we're coming up with a symbol for 4, and then 4. Now I'm using the Arabic numerals that have already been created because they're easier and recognizable for like getting the point across. However, now v, we could just keep v altogether, but let's say we want all of these new symbols to be unique. We want them to be unique to this new way of writing and understanding numbers. So let's keep going. So now we have vi equals 6. And let's say we have vi equals 7. Neat. And let's say we have vi equals 8. And then vi equals 9. I can't write. And then x. Now, x, we want to be able to say that we have 1x plus however other many i's. So with 1x, we have 1x and no i's. Now this represents 10. We have 1x, one set of full hands, and nothing else. So now we're going to call anything in this place. This equals 10. This equals I, or just the straight line that we were using. And then what if we have 9 of these? Well, then we can just take another thing here, and this would equal our C from earlier, because we were already grouping 10 of these, or 2 L's, as a C. So now we can just translate and teach each other that, hey, this means 100, this means 10, and this means 1. So what do we have here? This becomes CX0, because there's no 1s. But say if there was a 1 here, it would be CXI. But now that's a lot easier to deal with, because now if we wanted to go here and find, what is the list, the chart? I'm sure there's a chart, Roman numerals. Yeah, right here is what I need. C, D, a million, or like, well, 1,000, oops. So then this, so let's say we continued on down our numeral path. This would be the same as saying m. So now we have a lot easier way of saying how many of these, because instead of writing out how many m's there are, just like if, let's say this, instead of 1 was like a 5. So now instead of having to write out 5 m's, we have an understood 5 m's there. Neat. So good. That's great. Now we have a number system that we can actually work with. So now, what do? We could have a number system that is just 1 and 0. This would be binary. Binary. So we could do this ad nauseum, and we could have a number system with more than what we have come up with already. But we should stick to 10 maybe for right now. However, just as if we had 5 divided by 2, this would equal, what would that equal? So 5 minus 2 is 1. 5 minus 2 again is 2. And then we have n 0.5. So that would be 2.5. I don't fucking know. It's too late for this. How do you convert to binary? I need to learn that better. I need to find my digital electronics, because they taught us how to convert between bases. And I cannot remember for the life of me how. I have no clue, man.
So, make a little subheading under this. The key idea I want to get across to you is, how do we convert between bases? There's lots more to think about under this heading of number bases. It's a huge topic. Excuse me. But for now, let's just try and get a handle on, well, how do you work with these things? Okay. So to indicate that a number is in a base, right? What you do is you write that number, like say 47, and you write its base as a little subscript afterwards. So if I'm writing this as decimal, you could either write it as 47 with a dec, which means decimal, or you could write it as 47 with a little 10, which means base 10. Okay. So I would like to convert this number into some other base. Okay. So I'm going to convert it into binary shortly, just to show you how inefficient a method it is. But for reasons that will become clear shortly, that's not a good first example to do. So here's the example we're all going to try together, e.g. convert 47 in base 10 to base 3. Now, you've seen just here that a lot of the bases have names. So base 10 is decimal, base 2 is binary, base 16 is hexadecimal. Base 3 also has a name. It's called ternary. It's very uncommon, but you can do some cool card tricks with it. And if we have time, I'll show you one, but we'll see how we go. How do we convert it? Let me show you how. I'm going to do all of the working I'm about to do, I'm going to do it in decimal. So rather than write 4710 and then all these numbers with 10s after them, I'm just going to write this heading, decimal, and then everything you're about to see is decimal. When I change it, I will indicate that I'm doing so. Okay? We don't normally have to say that because we usually do everything in decimal, but we're about to change that. So that's why I'm stating it explicitly. And if you're doing working that, converts between different number systems, then you need to say that. Okay. Here's what I want to do. Here's the key question. You might even like to jot this down. Think of powers of 3. We're in base 3, so you need to think in terms of powers of 3. Here's why. What does 47 mean? We use a place value system, right? The 4 and the 7 have different values, not just because they're different digits, but because they're in different places. So this 7 means 7 lots of 1. What does the 4 actually mean? It doesn't mean 4. It means 4 lots of 10, right? Because, of course, it's base 10. If I put a number out the front here, like, say, 2, that 2 doesn't mean 2. What does that mean? Yeah, we would say, oh, you're in the hundreds column now, right? The base of 10 is what forms all of these numbers. Do you see that? Right? So this is really 2 lots of 10 squared. This is really 4 lots of 10 to the 1. And this is really 7 lots of 10 to the... And if I had decimal points, you seem to like 0.1, right? What does that 1 mean? That 1 means 1 lot of 10 to the... okay, so this is why it makes sense. It's completely internally consistent, right? So if we're in base 3, it's not about these powers of 10 anymore. It's about powers of 3. So tell me, 47. What's the biggest power of 3 you can think of that fits inside 47? 27 seems like the biggest one, right? Which is 3 cubed. I'm going to write 27. That's the biggest power of 3 I can fit in there, but there's other numbers as well. There's 20 left over. Okay, so I'm doing this working to try and work out how many powers of 3 I can fit in. What's the biggest power of 3 you can fit into 20? It's 9. Well, that's the next power of 3, isn't it? But you can't just fit one 9. How many 9s can you fit in there? You can fit 2 of them. 2 lots of 9. 2 lots of 9 is 18, so what's left over at the end? 2. It's not a trick question. What's the biggest power of 3 you can fit into 2? I guess you mean 3 to the power of 0, which is 1, right? The units are always the last one, okay? So what I've got here is 27 plus 2 of these plus 2 of these. Do you agree? And I have the whole number now, right? So see this line here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it in this form. To make clear what powers of 3 actually appear in there, right? You've got 1 lot of 3 cubed. You've got 2 lots of 3 squared. How many lots of 3 to the 1 do you have? I don't have any of those. Keep that in mind. And then I've got 2 lots of 3 to the 0. Is that okay? That's what 47 is. So therefore, I'm now going to work within different number systems. So I'm going to stop saying decimal at the front. I'm going to say 47 base 10. It's equal to. Now, look at this part carefully. Look at these guys. Do you remember how we said in base 10, you've got 10 digits to choose from, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., up to 9. And in base 2, we said you've got 2 digits to choose from, 0 or 1. How many digits do we have to choose from in base 3? 3. What are the digits? 0, 1, and 2. And that's why you only get 0s and 1s and 2s. The biggest number you've got is a 1. Then you get a 2. I've got 3 cubes. I've got 3 squares. How many 3 to the 1s did I have again? I don't have any. You said 0. And then how many of the units do I have? 2. That is 47 in base 3. Okay?
That's so cool. That is so cool. I don't know why I think that's so cool. Now, is there an easier way of doing it? Maybe. 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 Now, is this really the point that we would like to be here? I don't think so. I'm just stupid. I'm just stupid. So, making these symbols allows us to add a lot more effectively. Because now, if we know we have 375 sheep or what have you, and then we lose 30 sheep, now we just get an instant benefit of knowing that we still have really fast. Because now we know that we're working in ones, we're working in tens, and we're working in hundreds. These are now intuitive. So it takes 10 ones to get me 110, and it takes 10 tens to get me 100. And then just laying it out this way allows us to just subtract what actually makes sense, because now we have no ones were lost, but 3 tens were lost, so now we have 345. If we were to write this out, we would have C, 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 L, X, X, V, oh my god, minus X, 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 and then now we would basically have to, like, in order to like do it, you would have to like maybe take away all of this and then break this apart into the X's again, because that would be C, 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 and then it would be X, 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 V. Good Lord. And is that really as easy to understand that you're doing? Because like really you're taking away these and then breaking this up into its component X's, and then you're getting rid of this because you break it up into its component V's, and then you get rid of one of those V's, and then you're left with this. You're left with the CCC, those for that, and the V left over. You have to kind of like play this nesting egg game to be able to do any kind of arithmetic. So this speeds things up so much faster. Now, you can do, let's say you can do ratios and what have you, because now we know that we have multiples, because back in the day we had multiples, because X is just V, which is just like literally 10 ones. Like, we had multiples. This was 10 ones or 2 V's, and V is just 5 ones. That's multiples. And so we had them. And then we could break them down into how many ones. Like, what is the ratio between X and 1? Oh man, that ain't even just equals X. Because there's X ones per X. See, it's just weird, man. However, let's see, X to V's. That ratio is there's 2. Because how many times can you take away V from X? That breaks into 2 V's. You know, it makes kind of sense, because if X equals V, and then you were breaking them into sets of V's, well, of course, it would only break up into 2 sets of V's, which is just 2 different sets. So that makes sense. That ratio, we have the ability to do that. Now, if we were trying to be like weird, we would have X in ratios of 3's. So then we would have to break this up into being and then we would have our 3's would be separated into 3 and 1 left over, with remainder R for 1, remainder of 1. And then that just sucks, because now we got 3 plus the ratio between 1 over 3. And what is that ratio? Well, that can be understood as like there's 1 per every 3. But really, I mean, it's kind of hard to ascribe a meaning to that. Especially one that us decimal users would understand. I mean, this is a perfect ratio. This is just 1 in 3, 1/3. So, I mean, does it look cuter when we do this? When we convert it into this, it becomes 3 and 1/3. But if we wanted to say, like, wait, hang on, how many 10s is that? Now, we got, this is just so much better, because now we have 10 divided by 3, so 10/3 is perfect, but this equals 3 plus 1/3. Now, how do we continue to find what that 1/3 is in terms of our decimal system? Well, let's try to figure this out together, because I don't actually fully know. And then we end up with 1.0 divided by 3, and then this gives 3 or whatever, 0.3. And then this becomes another 3, whatever, and it just keeps on going and forever and ever and ever, because you can never actually do it. What is one that breaks down easier? Let's use a 4. Let's use, 10. Oh my god. 10 divided by 4. So this will definitely give me 2 with a 2 by, and then we get So that becomes 2 plus 2 divided by 4, which is the same as this is a ratio for every 2, it becomes that. So how many times does it go into 2.0? That obviously is 5. But how do we know to put the decimal place? Right there. Where does this come from? How do we know that? Well, because it takes 5 ones. And that equals a half. 5, it takes 10 of these, what are they called? Tenths. It takes 10 tenths to equal 1. So of course, if we're going to have 1/2, half of 10 is 5. So, I mean, it's internally consistent, but how? I want to understand that a little bit better. Let's try 220 divided by, say, 7. How many times can 7 go into this? Well, how many times does 7 go into 22? Because we know 7 can go into 22 3 times. And then, so that's going to be, it can go into this at least 30 times, because how many times could 70 go into this is the same as saying how many times can 7 go into 22. It's the same as saying how many times can 70 go into 220, because they both have times 10, and that would cancel out. So now we have 30. All right. But now, when we do that, we have 22, 0, minus net, net, net. That's how many times we can subtract it from there. So now we have 10 left over. And how many times does 7 go into 10? That just becomes 1. So let's make that a 1 instead. So it becomes 31. Alright, good deal. And then, so that is 7. And then we have a remainder of 3, so now we have plus 3 divided by 7. And this becomes 31 plus 3.0 divided by 7. And that becomes 28, so that is 40. So 31.4 plus 28. So we got 3.0 minus 2.8. So we got 0.2. our new remainder. So now we just keep on going. So that comes 20, so that's just going to be 2. So 31.42. And then we're going to end up with 14 minus 20. And then we're going to have 6 left over, so plus 6 over 7. And then we're just going to keep going. And then 60. And then that's going to be however many that goes. So 7 times 7, 49. Plus, so 56. So that's going to be 8 times. So 31.428. And then now we got 4 over 7. God damn. We just keep on going. And just to make sure that this is the correct way of thinking about this, I believe this is right. So let's take 220 divided by 7. Yep, so far so good. We have 31.4285714, and I'm sure it just keeps on going. Yep. And basically, it's irrational if we never reach the end of this cycle. Neat. So those ratios are very important. Just the ratio between this reduced to a decimal form. We keep on ending up with another ratio at the end, and then putting down the amount of times it goes in. Now, why does this work? What are we doing when we say 3 divided by 7 equals 0.4? Two, 8, 5, 7, 1. What are we saying? So it's 4/10, 2 100ths. It's the same as saying 4 divided by 10, or shoot, go away, plus 2 100ths plus 8 thousandths. So where does this come from when we're adding the 0 here to get this? We're reverse engineering. So we're multiplying by 10 and still taking 7 out of it. Because when we have 4 divided by 10, all right. Now we need to divide it. So we get 4 whatever. Now we need to divide by the 10 again in order to do it. We're not really changing it, we're just multiplying it by both sides. Okay, we're multiplying by 10 over 10. So this would be, we're just not separating this. We want to break this down. So really we're multiplying by 10 and dividing by 10 again for this. So now we got 4 times 10. So this equals 4 over 10 plus 2 over 7 over 10. Neat. And then this becomes, so times 10 divided by 10. 10 divided by 10 becomes, so that's going to be, okay, neat. So that's going to be 2, and then 6/7. And then that's going to just be divided by 100. Oh, that's so cool. It is internally consistent. Oh my god, that's so neat. Objects and perspective again. I gotta poop, I'll be back.